Today we're going to start a new series called Keywords. What we're going to be doing is digging into a keyword, hopefully finding some related keywords and giving you guys the ability to kind of dig down into whatever rabbit holes fit your interest. So today we're going to be looking at Operation Mockingbird, which essentially is a large-scale program by the CIA and other alphabet agencies intended to manipulate the news for propaganda purposes. According to Deborah Davis, Mockingbird recruited leading American journalists in a propaganda network and influenced the operations of front groups. CIA support for front groups was exposed in 1967 Ramparts magazine article, reported that the National Student Association received funding from the CIA. We're going to look into the Church Committee, and this is a congressional hearing that interviewed folks complicit in this operation. This is important, guys. There's nothing officially by the name of Operation Mockingbird. We're actually going to jump really quick to something called the Black Vault. The Black Vault is one of the biggest Freedom of Information Act leaks out there. So essentially a Freedom of Information Act it gives the ability of just regular citizens to request information from the government. The only thing on Mockingbird that has come out is something called Project Mockingbird that happened under JFK's administration. And essentially what this was spying on citizens through wiretaps and whatnot. So there's been two major leaks of Project Mockingbird. That is a different initiative of the government. So we don't have any true Freedom of Information acts on Operation Mockingbird. So I just want to clear that up. If you guys are doing your research, you guys may see Project Mockingbird. Definitely a sketchy thing and definitely worth looking into. But today we're going to be looking at Operation Mockingbird, not Project Mockingbird. All right, so we talked about the Church Committee. The Church Committee was this guy, this Democratic senator, and essentially what he did was he kind of said, or interviewed a bunch of people from the CIA, NSA, FBI, and IRS, and we're going to actually look a little bit at these interviews and see some of the important bits of information that he revealed. So we're just going to look at a couple of these clips. I will link this YouTube video to you. Definitely hasn't gotten many views, but some really good information coming out of here.
That planted stories intended to serve a national purpose abroad came home and were circulated here and believed here because this would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country. Now we're looking at that very carefully.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any?
All right, we're going to stop there. Right now, we already see some admission of guilt here in the fact that the CIA has been submitting papers to journalists. This was about 35 years ago, 45 years ago at this point, and I think there's still some good reason to believe it's going on now. So we're going to look at something from intelligence.senate.gov. If it's a .gov site, you know that it's from the government. These cannot be impersonated by random people or actors. I'm not going to read this whole 50-page doc with you, but definitely encourage you to look at it if you're interested. The CIA's use of journalists and clergy in intelligent operations. So that supports a little bit of what that interview is getting at. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to fast forward a little bit to the CBS president at the time, revealing some pretty interesting information.
At CBS, we had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole News and Public Affairs operation in 1954, the ships had been established, and I was told about them and asked if I'd carry on with them.
We have quite a lot of detailed information, and
all right, so we know the president of CBS at the time had been told to kind of carry on or keep driving the ships of the subversion of the CIA to his news network. So here we see that testimony by William Schaap to Congress. About a third of the whole CIA budget went to media propaganda operations. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and this is in the past. which, that's a lot more money then than it is now. Close to $1 billion are being spent every year by the United States on secret propaganda. So right now we start to see, why the news is so confusing in America. It's not just these corporate, media companies trying to get clicks with sensationalist titles. It's actual disinformation planted by our own government. So when we're paying our income tax, when we're paying our property tax, or income, I'd say, because property is more local, but we're actually paying to be confused by our own government, which is absolutely absurd. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these guys backtrack. They definitely don't want this to be exposed on a public hearing. So let's hear what they have to say, and see how they kind of skirt around the questions.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
All right, right there. He doesn't want to answer the question, which is pretty obvious what the answer is to the question. We're going to continue on. So we see the Office of Inspector General came out with a 30-page document, a review of the FBI's impersonation of a journalist in a criminal investigation. This happened, I believe, in 2007. Essentially, a FBI agent pretended to be a journalist, got some information, which really hurts the ability or credibility and trust in journalism. As whenever you get interviewed by a journalist, you want a little bit of journalistic integrity there. But at the end of the day, you have these kind of CIA or FBI or alphabet agencies. There's some funny names for them that I won't say in the video, who are really trying to get information to use against you, which really hurts the trust and the faith in journalism. All right, we're going to see a couple more modern headlines right here. FBI agents can pose as journalists, Inspector General says. This is an opinion from the New York Times. I'm not going to pay for this. I didn't archive this today, so I'm just going to refresh it so we can see it. The CIA's fake news campaign. And just a little on Frank Church. I read about him a little bit. Feel free to dig into him. Seemed to be a pretty, a pretty strong patriot, trying to expose some of this corruption. But anyway, guys, thank you for joining our first episode of Keywords. My audio is probably pretty terrible. I'm working on getting a microphone. This was unscripted, so thank you for just jumping down the rabbit hole for me. I hope you guys saw some keywords or learned some things that will help you in your own, searches and investigations. Take care.